The second death is a choice. Chapter 8, definition of the three lives. Verse 1. The three lives spoken of here are three lives that are with every saved one. Bracket. Please bear in mind that all of mankind was saved on the cross by the first death. Again, the three lives spoken of here are three lives that are with every saved one. Man's life, Satan's life, and God's life, says witness Lee again in his free gift to our body, the church, titled The Knowledge of Life on page 89. Witness Lee went on to testify and say, ordinary men think there is only one life within man, that is, the human life, which is obtained from the parents, bracket, flesh. But the Bible shows that due to the fall of mankind, besides the human life, there is also in man the life of Satan. Therefore, Romans 7:18-20 says that in man, that is in the flesh of man, there also dwells sin. Sin here refers to the life of Satan, brackets, or the Antichrist Muhammad, the man of sin. The flesh which contains the life of Satan, according to Galatians 5:17, continues to remain within man after he is saved, and often lusts against the spirit. Therefore, after a person is saved, he still has the life of Satan in him. Moreover, John 3:36 says, he that believeth on the Son hath eternal life. 1 John 5:22 also says, he that hath the Son hath life. That is the life of God. This shows that one who believes in the Son of God and is saved has not only his original life and the life of Satan obtained through the fall, but also the eternal life of God. The Bible said that when God created Adam, he breathed into his nostril the breath of life. Thus, Adam obtained the created life of man. Then God put man in the Garden of Eden before two trees, the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil, according to revelations given later in the Bible. The tree of life signifies God. The tree of knowledge of good and evil signifies Satan, and Adam represents mankind. Hence, that day in the Garden of Eden, that is, in the universe, a situation developed which involved three parties: man, God, and Satan. Satan is the opponent of God, and the focus of his struggling with God is man. Both Satan and God wanted man. God desired man for the accomplishment of his will, while Satan wanted man for the fulfillment of his evil desire. The method of both Satan and God in gaining man was through life. God's intention was for man to eat the fruit of the tree of life and thus obtain his uncreated life and unite with him. However, Satan enticed man to eat the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Henceforth, Satan's life entered into man, causing him to become corrupted. Thus, besides his original created life, man also obtained the fallen life of Satan. In the New Testament time, God put his life in his Son to be manifested among men, so that by believing in his Son and receiving him, man may obtain his life. Thus, besides our original created human life and the life of Satan obtained through the fall, we also obtain the life of God. Therefore, the three lives within us who are saved are obtained through creation, the fall, and salvation, respectively. Coming forth from the creating hands of God, we obtained the created human life. Passing through Adam, we became fallen and obtained the fallen life of Satan. Getting into the Christ, we are saved and obtained the uncreated life of God. According to scriptural revelation, the three different lives of man, Satan, and God entered respectively into our soul, body, and human spirit, the three parts of our being. When God formed man of the dust of the ground, he breathed into him the breath of life, and man became a living soul. Genesis 2:7. This means that the human life obtained through creation is in man's soul. When man was enticed by Satan and fell, he ingested into his body the fruit of knowledge of good and evil, which signifies Satan. Therefore, the life of Satan obtained by man through the fall is in the human body. When man receives the Lord Jesus as Savior and is saved, the Spirit of God bringing with him the life of God enters into the human spirit. Hence, the life of God obtained by man through salvation is in the human spirit. Thus, a person who is saved has the life of God in his spirit, the human life in his soul, and the life of Satan in his body. In order to understand more clearly the three parts wherein the three lives are located, we shall spend a little time to discuss the consciousness of these parts. The body, our outermost physical part, is visible and touchable. It includes all the members of our body and has the five senses of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and touching to contact the physical world. Therefore, the consciousness of the body is called the worldly sense or physical sense. The spirit, our innermost and deepest part, includes conscience, intuition, and fellowship. The conscience is the organ for distinguishing right and wrong, and according to the principle of right and wrong, it causes us to sense what is right and wrong. It causes us to sense what is right and accepted in the eyes of God, and what is wrong and rejected in the eyes of God. The intuition enables us to sense the will of God directly without the need of anything as a means. The fellowship part enables us to communicate and fellowship with God. Although it is the fellowship part that causes us to contact God, yet it is both the conscience and the intuition that causes us to sense God and spiritual matters, that is, to contact the spiritual world. The sense of these two parts is the sense in the spirit. Hence, it is called the spiritual sense or the sense of God. The spirit and the body is our inner psychological part and includes the mind, emotion, and will. The mind is the organ for thinking and considering. The emotion is the organ for pleasure, anger, sorrow, and joy. And the will is the organ for formulating opinion and making decisions. Although the soul consists of three parts, only two, the mind and the emotion, have consciousness. The sense of the mind is based on rationalization, whereas the sense of the emotion is based on likes and dislikes. The two senses in our soul enable us to sense man's psychological part, that is, man's ego or self, and to contact the psychological world. Hence, they are called psychological senses or self-consciousness. Since each of the three lights which we obtain within us has its own origin and dwells separately in one of the three parts of our being, then the nature of these three lives and their respective conditions within us must also be different and rather complicated. Immediately after man was created in the hands of God, in God's eyes he was very good, Genesis 1:31, and upright, Ecclesiastes 7:29. Therefore, the created life of man was originally good and upright. Not only was it without sin, but also without knowledge of sin and the consciousness of shame. It was innocent and simple. After Adam sinned and fell, man not only offended God in behavior, which resulted in a sinful situation, but worse still, he was poisoned by Satan in life, which caused his life to become defiled and corrupted. For example, suppose I instruct my children at home not to play with a blackboard eraser. After I leave home, due to their curiosity, they play with the eraser. Then upon my return, I find that they have done wrong. This wrongdoing is merely a violation of family regulation. Nothing has gotten into them. Suppose, however, that next time I leave a bottle of poisonous medicine at home and tell the children, don't ever drink this. After I leave home, they find that the bottle is fun to play with, and alas, they drink the poisonous medicine. At this point, they have not only disobeyed my order and violated the family regulation, but worse still, something poisonous has gotten into them. This is what happened when Adam ate the fruit of the tree of knowledge that day. Not only had he disobeyed God's prohibition, but he also had taken Satan's life into himself. Henceforth, man became inwardly complicated. He not only had the original upright and good life of man, but also the evil and corrupted life of Satan. Satan's life, filled as it is with all kinds of sins, contains the seed of all corruption and factors of evil. Satan lives within the man and causes him to have lusts, John 8:44, and commit sins, 1 John 3:8. Therefore, his life is the root of sins, which causes man to live out sin. The various sins committed by man are derived from the life of Satan, or the life of the devil within him. Ever since this devilish life entered into man, though at times he is still able to live out a little human goodness according to his human life, he lives out the devilish evils most of the time according to the devilish life. Sometimes man can be very gentle. He can really act like a man and give forth the savor of a true man. But other times when he loses his temper, he is really like a devil and full of the devilish odor. When man indulges in drunkenness and carousing, visiting prostitutes, gambling, and committing various sins, he bears a devilish appearance and is full of devilish odor. It is not of his will that man lives out the devilish life. Rather, it is the life of the devil within that tricks him and thus causes him to become a devilish man and lead the life of a mixture of man and devil. This is the actual inner condition of the people of the world today. Due to the fact that man has the lives of both, due to the fact that man has the lives of both of man and Satan, one good nature and the other evil, he has the desire on one hand to be good and upright, and on the other hand, he has an inclination towards corruption and evil. Hence, throughout the generation, philosophers engaged in the studies of human nature have advocated two different thoughts. One, that man is good in nature, and the other, that the nature of man is evil. But thank the Lord, today, we who are saved not only have the lives of man and the devil, but also the life of God. Just as Satan, through his corruption, injected his life into us and caused us to be united with him, gain him and possessed of all the evils of his nature, so also God, through his deliverance, puts his life into us and causes us to be united with him, gained by him and possessed of all the divine goodness of his nature. Therefore, just as the crucial point of the fall was life, so also the crucial point of salvation is life. When we come to the Lord's table, we break the bread of life first, and then we drink the cup of remission. This signifies that when we experience the Lord's salvation, although first we receive the blood and then the life, yet in his salvation, the main figure is the bread, which signifies life. The cup, which signifies blood, is secondary. Hence, first we take the bread and then the cup. When the life of God enters into us, we become more complicated within than worldly people. We have the upright life of man, the evil life of Satan, and the divinely good life of God. This means that we have man, Satan, and God. The tripartite situation of man, God, and Satan, which existed on that day in the Garden of Eden, exists also in us today. We can say that inside us is a miniature Garden of Eden with man, God, and Satan, all three there. Therefore, Satan's struggle with God for man in the Garden of Eden is also occurring in us today. Satan moves within us today, desiring that we cooperate with him so that he can fulfill I beg your pardon. Beg your pardon. So that he can fulfill, be good and upright on the other hand, and evil. Hence, throughout the okay, I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon. No, it's see. So that he can fulfill his evil intention of possessing us. God also moves within us, desiring that we cooperate with him to accomplish his good pleasure. If we live according to the life of Satan within us, we will live out the evils of Satan and thus enable him to fulfill his evil intention upon us. If we live according to the life of God within us, we will live out the divine goodness of God and thus enable him to accomplish his good pleasure in us. Although sometimes it seems that we can be independent and live neither according to the life of Satan nor according to the life of God, but only according to our human life. Yet, actually, we cannot be independent. Either we live according to the life of God or we live according to the life of Satan. Consequently, a Christian can act three different kinds of persons and live three different kinds of lives. A brother who is very affable in the morning really looks like a man. At noon, when he gets angry with his wife, he resembles a demon. And at night, when in prayer time, he feels that he has wronged his wife and confesses both before God and to his wife, he appears like God. Thus, within one day, he acts like three different persons, living out the three different conditions. In the morning, he is affable as a man. At noon, he loses his temper as a demon. And at night, after dealing with sin, he manifests the likeness of God. Within one day, man, the devil, and God are all manifested in his living. The reason why he can act in such a way is that within him there are the lives of all three men. The devil, lives of all three. I beg your pardon. The reason why he can act in such a way is that within him there are the lives of all three. Man, the devil, and God. When he lives according to the life of man, he is like a man. When he walks according to the devilish life, he is like the devil. When he acts according to the life of God, he manifests the likeness of God. Whichever life we live in accordance to, with regardless of the life, that life determines what we live are. Hence, we must see clearly that within a person who is saved, brackets, mankind, there are three different lives: the created life of man, the fallen life of Satan, and the uncreated life of God. Though we have all three lives within us, yet we obtain them at different junctions due to three different occurrences. First, at the time of creation, and through creation we obtain the created life of man. Second, during the fall, due to our contact with Satan and the tree of knowledge of good and evil, we obtain the fallen life of Satan. Third, at the time of our salvation, because we believed in the Son of God and received him, we obtain the uncreated life of God. Due to the fact that these three different events, creation, fall, and salvation, occurred in us, we obtain the three lives of man, Satan, and God, each life differing from the others in nature. Having seen and known this, we can then be clear regarding the way of life. Since the three different lives of man, Satan, and God exist in us concurrently, according to which one we live. According to which one should we live? The life of man, the life of God, or the life of Satan? The life we live in accordance with is the life we live out. Herein lies the way of life. Witness Lee. Again, this is the second death is a choice. Chapter 8. Glory for Christ forevermore.